Cotton cola.
Happy New Year, everyone! I say on January 7th. Yeah, so I meant to upload this video last week. Today is Sunday, and I consider Sunday to be the first day in the week. And last week I considered to be the first week in January, but I got held behind, so I'm uploading this video this week. I'm filming this on Sunday, January 7th, so I'm not exactly sure what day I'm uploading it, but it's definitely going to be this same week. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about my top 10 favorite movies of 2017. But before I get into that, I'd like to mention some films that I didn't see, but I heard really good things about. All the Money in the World, A Silent Voice, Darkest Hour, The Florida Project, Good Time, I, Tanya, Molly's Game, Phantom Thread, The Post, Stronger, Wind River, Wonder, and Your Name. Alright, so now that I got that out of the way, let me talk about my top 10 favorite movies of 2017, starting with number 10, The Big Sick. I wasn't sure how to feel about this movie when I watched the previews of these films. They didn't really seem that interesting. However, I am a big fan of Kumail Nanjiani, who also is Dinesh on Silicon Valley, a great show on HBO. And I was intrigued by the fact that this is based on the true story of how he and his wife Emily V. Gordon met, and both of them wrote the screenplay for this movie together. So I decided to watch this movie, and I do not regret seeing it at all. This film is fantastic. It balances drama and comedy perfectly. I really got to care and almost kind of relate to all the main characters in this movie. I could understand what everyone was going through and the decisions that everyone was making, even though I have never personally experienced any of these adversaries before. I actually didn't want the movie to end. I got kind of sad when the credits started rolling because I did not want to end because of how emotionally attached I got to these characters and this story. If you haven't seen it, it's available right now on Amazon Prime. Number 9, Dunkirk. From start to finish, this film is extremely entertaining and intense. Right from the start, you are brought back in time to 1945, I think, and go on a journey of survival with about 300,000 British soldiers. One thing that this film is getting criticized for is that you don't really get to know anything about the characters. You don't even know most of their names. Um, I personally think that that works for the film, though. The director of this film, Christopher Nolan, I mean, if you don't know who Christopher Nolan is, come on, has said that he wanted to make this film about the events of the beaches of Dunkirk, not about one specific character. And in real war, it's rare to get to know or really get emotionally involved with just one specific person. For two people to meet and say, "Oh, hi, my name is blah blah, my name is blah blah," and I think that Nolan portrayed that feeling really well. However, even if you can't get over the lack of character or emotionality, you can still enjoy the film for the incredible direction, amazing score, and the breathtaking visuals. Number 8, Baby Driver. There has not been a single Edgar Wright film that I have not liked, if not loved, and thankfully, this film is no exception. This film is non-stop fun from start to finish. The soundtrack is amazing, the editing is great, the direction is fantastic, and every single actor in this movie delivers an incredible performance, including, yes, you know who. As much of a jerk he is, you can't deny that he's a great actor. This movie is not without its flaws, but it is still a fantastic movie that had me smiling from start to finish. Definitely check this one out if you have not yet. Number 7, The Disaster Artist. I am a big fan of The Room. In case you don't know what The Room is, it is a film that is infamous for being so bad that it's good. It is written and directed by Tommy Wiseau, and there are also a lot of crazy things that not just happen during this film, The Room, but also behind the scenes of The Room. The Disaster Artist is about the making of The Room and also how Tommy Wiseau and his best friend Greg Sestero, who plays Mark in The Room, meet. and the troubles that they go through to make this movie. Watching this movie was fascinating, and James Franco does a good job playing Tommy and directing this movie. And his brother Dave Franco plays Greg Sestero, and he does a really good job as well. What's great about this film is that you don't have to have seen The Room before watching The Disaster Artist, but if you have seen The Room before, then it will definitely enhance your viewing experience of The Disaster Artist. If you want to see the crazy true story of how one of the most infamously bad films of all time have been made, then definitely check this one out. Number 6. Thor Ragnarok. I didn't really like the first two Thor movies. I thought that they were just okay. They were definitely some of the weaker and more expendable films in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And ironically, the third Thor film is now not just one of my favorite Marvel films of all time, but one of my favorite films of the year. This film did what the other two Thor movies failed to do: make me actually care about Asgard. Like like when Hela, the goddess of death or something, when she took over Asgard, I got really sad, even though I didn't really care about Asgard in the previous two films. And this film does something really well. It brings Thor onto an alien planet, not on Earth with extremely forgettable comic relief characters. And speaking of which, I actually really cared about all of the supporting cast members in this movie. Hulk was amazing. Valkyrie, played wonderfully by Tessa Thompson, was great. And Korg, who was voiced by the director of this movie, Taika Waititi, who does a great job directing this movie, by the way. I love Korg. Korg is awesome. This movie, in my opinion, successfully revived the Thor franchise, even though it's probably going to be the last Thor film ever. But even if you don't care about like how different this is in the previous Thor movies and you just want to sit down and watch a fun movie, then you definitely will have a ton of fun. Number 5. Blade Runner 2049. I don't really like the first Blade Runner movie. The only version I've seen is the final cut from 2007. I know that that's like everybody's favorite version, I think, but I haven't seen the other versions, and I didn't really like the final cut version. It is beautiful, don't get me wrong, but I just can't get over how slow the movie is. And what's interesting is that Blade Runner 2049 is almost exactly like its predecessor. It's slow, it's deep, deals with a lot of themes about AI. But for some reason, while I didn't like the first movie, I loved the second movie. It's pretty much the same movie, but I still really liked it. I don't know. Maybe it's because I grew to appreciate more of Harrison Ford ever since I saw the first movie, and I'm a big fan of Ryan Gosling, and they both do a great job in this movie. Also, I'd like to give a big shout out to Ana de Armas. I believe that's how you pronounce her name, who plays Joy. She was great. Not only are the performances great, but the cinematography by Roger Deakins, the visuals, the production design, etc. They're all really, really good. And this movie is very slow, but I didn't mind that so much. I actually was intrigued in how much they were building up the story. If you don't mind the slow building film with spectacular visuals and great performances, then you will definitely like this movie. Number 4. War for the Planet of the Apes. It is rare in a film franchise for me to like the third film the most and the first film the least, but that is definitely the case for the new Planet of the Apes franchise with Andy Serkis. Circus, or I don't know. Don't get me wrong, I love the first film, Rise of the Planet of the Apes is an amazing film, but this third film, War for the Planet of the Apes, is definitely my favorite in the franchise, and one of my favorite of the year. It brings us and main character Caesar into even darker places, both physically and psychologically, than he has ever gone before. And once again, Andy Serkis does a great job as Caesar, but credit should not be. But the motion capture work and the production crew and the people that worked on the visuals on this film, they should not be ignored. They deserve a lot of credit in this film. And just like with the previous film, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, Matt Reeves' direction is amazing. It is very slow, and there technically isn't a war in this movie, but I still think that this is a beautiful, thought-provoking film about talking apes. Definitely check this one out. Number 3, Lady Bird. I have not seen a single film written or directed. Actually, no, I'm sorry. This is her first film that she's directed. So, written or starring Greta Gerwig before this film. However, I really wanted to see this film because the trailer looked intriguing. I'm a big fan of Saoirse Ronan. And I made a promise to myself that I would see more films produced and distributed by A24. So I saw this film and I absolutely loved it. This film almost feels like a documentary. It's just so raw and real. You really get to care about the characters in this movie, and you want to go on this emotional and sometimes funny journey with them. Saoirse Ronan plays Christine Lady Bird McPherson, and she does a great job, and so does Laurie Metcalf, who you may know as Aunt Jackie from Roseanne. She plays Christine's mom, Marion, and they're both so strong-headed and stubborn, and they're both so great. This is a great coming-of-age story that should definitely be remembered, not just as one of the greatest films of the year, but possibly of all time. Number 2, Call Me by Your Name. So the screenwriter of this film, James Ivory, has also directed several really good movies in the past. Our Room with a View, Howard's End, The Remains of the Day, I think, with Anthony Hopkins and Emma Thompson. And he was supposed to direct this movie, but unfortunately he couldn't. But still, despite that, this film is amazing and beautifully directed by Luca. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce his last name. Luca G. The lead actors Armie Hammer and Timothy Chalamet are amazing as Oliver and Elio. I went to see this film with high expectations because of how much I'm a fan of James Ivory and Armie Hammer, and I was not let down. This is one of the most emotional films I have seen, not just in the year, but in a while. This is also one of 2 films this year in which I sat through the credits in complete emotional shock. Like, I did not get up out of my seat until after the credits had finished rolling. I was so invested in the story that I did not want to get up and leave, but of course, I eventually had to. Not only is this film a beautiful story, not a gay story, but just about 2 people who fall in love but only have one summer, one brief moment to spend with each other. It's personally to me extremely relatable as well. I could relate to almost every single feeling and action that Elio had. I'm not gay, I'm straight, but I still knew what it was like to get to know somebody for a brief amount of time and think that I was head over heels in love with them and only spend a little bit of time with them before they had to leave. And then they get together with another person, spoiler alert. And it's heartbreaking. This film is really heartbreaking. I know I kind of spoiled the movie already, but definitely check this one out still. It is it is really slow. Not There aren't really many exciting moments, and there's also a really weird moment involving a peach. But despite that, please watch this movie. It is emotional, it is beautiful, and it is really, really good, and is my second favorite film of the year. Alright, so before I name my number 1 favorite movie of 2017, let me give you some of my honorable mentions. Some films I really enjoyed, but I felt weren't as good as the ones on this list. Coco, Get Out, It, John Wick, Chapter 2, the Lego Batman movie, the Meyerowitz stories, The Shape of Water, Star Wars The Last Jedi, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, and Wonder Woman. Number 1, Logan. I actually put this film on my number 10 slot when I first started making this list, but the more I think about this film and the more it marinates in my head, the more I appreciate it and love it. And with each passing day, this film went up 1 slot and another slot and another slot until it eventually reached number 1. This is definitely, in my humble opinion, the best film of 2017. It is the final film featuring Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, and it is the first R-rated X-Men film, not counting Deadpool. And it is extremely gory and bloody and depressing, and it's great. This movie is, like I said, depressing, dark, and brutal, kind of like the world in which Logan is currently living in. This was the perfect finale at send off for the character of Wolverine, and Hugh Jackman once again does a great, great job playing this character. In the 17 years in which he has played Wolverine, he has not disappointed me once. He was even good in that terrible X-Men Origins Wolverine movie. This is the only other movie besides Call Me By Your Name in which I sat through the credits frozen in complete utter shock, and I did not leave until after the credits had rolled. This was a great way to end Wolverine's story and is for sure my favorite film of 2017. Alright, so that was my list of my top 10 best movies of 2017. My top 10 worst movies of 2017 list should be coming out soon, so be on the lookout for that. Thanks again for watching. I appreciate it, and I hope that all of you are having a great 2018 so far. Bye.